Hey everybody, my name is Ryan Habig. I am the worship pastor at Outward Church in Salem, Oregon. Like a lot of you, we kind of found ourselves in a position last week of deciding whether or not to do a live stream for a service, and so we went ahead and opted to try to do that. And we've never done that before, but we were pretty blessed. We had a couple guys in our congregation who actually have some experience setting up live streams, and so they were able to jump in and help us get rolling right away. And so we ended up pretty happy with how the stream turned out. Obviously, with short notice, there were some things that we'd like to continue to work on and do better. But I've had a handful of folks ask if we could provide just some insight into how we set some things up and did different things. So I'm kind of approaching this as a live stream for dummies because I am in that exact same category. We were learning a lot in a hurry last weekend, but in an attempt to be just helpful, I thought I'd just do a quick rundown of kind of what we did and I'm fully aware there's guys who out there who are a lot more qualified than I am and are being generous and sharing their knowledge and that sort of thing. But I'm going to kind of respond to some specific questions we've gotten, and then make myself available. As we're all kind of all in this together right now. This is certainly a unique time for the church, and so those of us who are in the church world are kind of facing some new challenges and having to learn some things really quick that maybe we haven't had to in the past. So this is just an attempt to be helpful. So I'm going to switch my camera angle here and show you our tech booth. Okay, so we're here in our tech booth here. Audio over there, light board, Pro Presenter, and then we've got our live streaming computer set up right here. We have one camera, just a DSLR that we have been running normally on Sundays to record the sermons with, but we added a second camera on Sunday kind of right there in the center of our room. So we had a couple different angles going for our live stream and recording, and so we have the two DSLRs, the one we borrowed on Sunday, which we'll probably end up purchasing a second one here as we go forward. But then those camera sources were fed here into this Blackmagic ATEM Mini, which we managed to pick up. I know a lot of churches tried picking up video switchers last weekend and weren't as successful. We just happened to, I think, be one of the lucky ones. So we got this Blackmagic box. It was $300 on B&H, and pretty simple video switcher, but this is kind of the key to the whole streaming process for us. So as far as sources go, well, that's our hardware setup. Let me kind of explain how we had this running on Sunday. So pretty basic switcher operation here. So 4 channels of video input. Your audio controls are right here for each channel. And we fed audio from our soundboard, so we just left those all off. You've got on off for each source. So normal operation would be like if you were to switch between a video source, say source 1 and source 2, you could select which audio you want to be fed to your live stream, or you can have it the audio follow video, which means that whichever video source is live, that's the audio source that becomes live. Right, we did not use it that way because we wanted all of our audio to be fed from our soundboard because we had a dedicated mix for this. So that comes in. There's 2 audio channels on the ATEM Mini right here. So we had our soundboard fed into this input right here, mic 1, and we just left that on the whole time. So all of our audio came from our we had a live stream bus coming from our soundboard, so that was coming in on that input right there. So as far as our inputs go, we had our Pro Presenter feed, which is our computer right here, coming in on 4, and then we had the 2 cameras on 2 and 3. And so when we wanted to switch between sources, we could just obviously switch from one camera to the, I'm gonna change that real quick. We just go from one camera to the next pretty quickly, or if we wanted to switch to our computer feed, we switch here. Now, as far as the actual switching goes, these are your controls here. This says cut. I don't know if you can see it or not on the video. It says cut. This is auto, and this is fade to black, FTB. So if you want to just do quick cuts, you use cut. If you want to do a crossfade or some sort of like a wiping transition, that sort of thing, you can use auto. These buttons right here are the duration, right? So like if you want to do a 1/2 second fade, a 1 second fade, etc. This ties to this. Okay, and these are the effects that you can use. We just left it on mix the whole time, which is just a crossfade, or dip if you want to dip to a color, right? Dip to black, and then fade to your next source. So these buttons all correlate with your crossfade right here. Picture-in-picture is something we didn't use. If you were to overlay multiple cameras, you know, have one showing in the corner, that's what this would be used for right here. The key function right here. This is really how you key out certain parts of an image. So, for example, the way we used this was overlaying lyrics over the video feed, and so we wanted to have lyrics fed through our live stream, and so we just keyed the computer source over the video source, so the lyrics showed. So I'll show you how we did that here in a second, but that's turned off at the moment. But that's the basic setup here on the ATEM as far as connections go. Power, and then these are the input sources, so the two cameras, the Pro Presenter, these are all HDMI. This is an HDMI out, so we could preview any of the video sources. You know, just have a dedicated preview feed to those. This is a USB-C connector that is actually feeding the live stream to the computer, and it gives us control of the mixer on the computer itself. And then this is power. Did I say this was power? What is this? Oh, that's the audio input. Okay, power, audio input. And it's just an 1/8 inch jack, so we had to get a cable, XLR to 1/8 inch cable coming out of the soundboard. So that's our connectors. So that's all running into a Mac Mini right here, which we managed to borrow for the time being. So we're thankful for that. So actually on the computer here, and I could have recorded this using the using the actual video switcher, but I'm going low tech right now. So the switcher itself is controlled, or can be controlled, through this software. It's called ATEM Software Control. You just download it, and then it actually gives you a control panel that kind of mirrors what's on the box here. But this is software that is used for all of their, I think, all of their mixers. And so there's some things on here that are not going to match exactly, but it actually gives you quite a bit more control. So this is where you can actually get in and label your sources, right? So like we labeled, you know, camera 1, camera 2, Pro Presenter, and so you can control it from the computer here if you want. What you need this for is in order to do any sort of keying. This is where you set that up. So I'll show you how we did that. So as far as our being able to key out a background and overlay lyrics over the camera, so that you're going to use the upstream key. And I know some of you guys have Blackmagic devices. I think the software is the same, even if the hardware controller is not exactly what we have. The software still, I think, is the same program. So upstream key is what we used, and we used a chroma keyer. And what you're going to do is set the fill source to whatever your computer is, whatever's running your slides. So that's where the source is pulled from. And then the chroma sample, the way, so let me show you how our, I'm going to bring up a lyric slide here. So I'll show you what the software here in a moment. Basically, this is previewing our stream. So let me switch to camera here. So there's our camera feed that I just have set up right now. So this is the slide coming directly from Pro Presenter right now. That green background, that's just this background we've been using for the series we're in right now. You could use just a black background. Either one of those. The key is that it's a solid color. It just has to be a solid color, so that you can tell the software to take that color out, right? So what we did was, let's see if I can, okay, I'm gonna fade back to, or bring my camera feed back up. Okay, so on my chroma keyer, right here, you select the color that you wanna key out. So a chroma sample. Let me bring this back into view. Okay, so if you click on this, you can click anywhere on your image and it's going to key that color out in the image. So like if I click, you can't tell probably on the video, but this is that kind of that green color that was showing up on my slide just because I've clicked right here. If I click anywhere, it's going to pull that same color. If I were to click down here, I might catch some of that white text, but I just want to click anywhere up here because I know that's all green. That's all the color I want to key out, okay? So that is set now, and so all I need to do in order to bring my slides up is down here on the ATEM, see this key button right here. When I turn this, so I've got my camera source live right now, but the computer knows that when I turn the key on, it's gonna pull the computer and key out that green color, right? So I'm gonna hit this on button here and I'll show you what it does to the feed. So when I turn the key on, it lays the text over, right? So then I can just click on my slides over here in Pro Presenter, and I've got them all formatted kind of to a lower third, right? So I can see the people in the shot up above. And as I click on those slides, they just change over the camera feed. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's kind of the mechanics of how we set that up. Again, this is going to be pretty obvious for some people who've been doing this for a long time, but for us, we were figuring it out really quick. So I'm sure a lot of us are all in the same boat here. So that's how we set that up. I think another thing about the software control here that's helpful is you have an audio mixer here. Honestly, audio on a live stream is probably one of the toughest things to figure out, at least it was for us. And so we have, like I said, a separate mix bus from the soundboard just dedicated for the live stream. And so, our guys were mixing with headphones and actually then going into, other parts of our building where they couldn't hear the live band. And as we tested the feed to the live stream, they were able to mix remotely. Our soundboard allows us to mix with an iPad, over Wi-Fi. So they were able to mix in a different room, kind of like a control room approach. And so that's really helpful to be able to do that if you can. Just because mixing for a direct feed is a completely different animal than mixing for a live room. But it was a little tricky getting a strong enough signal to our live feed. We finally figured out in here, there's actually you can go into your settings down here. Sorry for the shaky camera. In your settings on the software control in the audio section right here, we selected mic. We're running our audio on mic 1. That's the input on the ATEM. It gives you the option to split the audio into separate mono channels. When we did that, because what we realized was the sound was only coming in on one channel. It was treating it as a stereo feed, but it was only receiving like half the signal. And so we checked that box, and what that did is it basically duplicated the signal and gave us twice as much to work with. So that was a big help when we figured that out. So audio, you've got your audio mixer right here, which is pretty cool. So our audio, this doubled once we clicked that. So basically it was receiving then, or it was doubling the signal instead of receiving half of the signal. So that gave us a lot more bandwidth to work with as far as audio goes. You've got some dynamic control right here, so we were able to put a limiter on here, which basically boosts the light sounds and kind of crushes the louder sounds, kind of levels the thing out for a live stream. So we set this, I think here's where we set our limiter at. And so that it ended up sounding pretty good. We'll continue to tweak it and make changes as we go. But that's how we set that up actually here in the ATEM control. There's obviously a lot of other things you can do with this. You can get in and play around with it, but those are the basics we used for setting our feed up. As far as the actual live stream goes, let me just tell you about some of the software we use. So this is called OBS, and this is just an open source live stream software, so I think it's a free download. Basically the way it's set up is you set up your sources, which we just have one video source, which is the ATEM. You just added it down here, and it, once it's plugged into the controller, it recognized it here. And then we added it again as an audio device. Since the ATEM is feeding both audio and video, we actually added it in here as two separate sources, but it's taking them both and sending them to the live stream. So we can monitor kind of our audio level coming in on the stream right here. Oops, I don't know why I'm doing that. So we could see, is it peaking, is it too quiet or whatever, so we could kind of adjust accordingly because we wanted to get a good, strong feed coming through the live stream right here. And so then these controls over here is basically how we started and stopped our stream. The start streaming basically starts the stream. We also could start recording. We were able to record to the hard drive on this Mac Mini here, so we could record our entire service. We just ran that simultaneously. And then when we were done, we just hit stop, and that stops the stream. Now that is actually being fed to there's our live stream service, and so there's multiple ways you can set this up. There's lots of different ways. The one we've chosen to go with is called Restream.io. And I think we're paying $20 a month for this, and that allows us to stream simultaneously to Facebook and YouTube. You can stream for free just to YouTube or just to Facebook. I think we want to be able to do both, and so I think you're in paid territory at that point if you want to do more than one source at a time. So that's what we decided to do. But let me show you kind of how this works. So if I go live on my stream back here in OBS, I'm going to start the stream. and then you'll see here in my Restream browser, it's going to start showing my live stream right now once it gets going. Okay, so that's pulling live now, and I've got both of these toggled off, so nothing is actually going to YouTube or Facebook at the moment. Basically there's a live feed being generated right now, and so if I wanted to go live on YouTube, I could just toggle that on and it would start a live stream on YouTube on our channel. On Facebook, you actually have to manually start it, so I could start this to Facebook right now, but then I'd have to go to Facebook Live, prepare a new stream, and hit go live, and it would pull this stream and go live with it. So that's how we're set up. As far as how this was actually all set up, it works with stream keys. And I didn't set this aspect of it up, so I'm not an expert on any of this, but especially not this part of it. But there's certain keys that are generated, like by our Facebook account. The option to use a stream key is something that you would need to select. We pull that code and input it here on the settings, right here. Just copy and paste that into there so it knows where to send the feed to. Same thing I think with YouTube. I think there was a settings where like there's a stream key that's generated. We put this into Restream, and it knows where to send the feed. So that's about it. Just a couple other real quick considerations to be aware of. For the audio streaming, be sure to be very careful not to include any copyrighted material in your stream. I'm thinking like before the service, that sort of thing. If you have music rolling, YouTube, Facebook, they will catch that in a hurry and they will shut it down. So be sure to find, like we just found a royalty-free audio playlist on Spotify, and pull a few tracks out of that and created a pre-service loop, just so that we could have something playing that wasn't going to get tagged, for copyright violations. So be aware of that. Also, make sure you've got a streaming license like CCLI or something. Makes it really easy to just go buy a streaming license, so you know how to. So you have the ability to stream your worship music online, because all of that is copyrighted as well. So those are just a couple quick things to be aware of. If I can be helpful in anything else, if there's anything here that I wasn't clear on, or you want further clarification on, shoot me an email, ryan@outwardchurch.com. Or you can look me up on Facebook. And like I said, we're all in this together. So I just want to be helpful wherever we can, and praying for all of us as we just kind of figure out how to do church in a new way in these coming weeks.